I never thought my love for classic cars would turn into a battlefield with the HOA. For years, I kept my 1969 Mustang in the driveway, a deep green beauty that I'd spent decades restoring. With my father, it wasn't just a car. It was a memory, a family bond, and a piece of history. Neighbors admired it, kids waved as I polished the chrome, and it was always the talk of our small cul-de-sac. But the HOA board didn't see it that way. One evening, I found a bright yellow notice taped to my garage door. In bold letters, it read, "Vehicle violation. Remove non-compliant automobiles within 7 days or face fines." I shook my head in disbelief. My Mustang wasn't a rust bucket. It wasn't broken down. It was fully registered, insured, and in perfect running condition. But to them, it didn't fit their definition of community standards. When I went to the next HOA meeting, I tried to reason with them. "Folks," I said calmly, holding up the notice, "this car isn't abandoned. It's not junk. It's a classic piece of American history. It's fully legal." The HOA president, a woman named Linda, smirked as she flipped through her folder. "Community guidelines clearly state," she said with a rehearsed tone, "that vehicles considered non-standard or recreational must be kept out of sight, garaged or removed. That rule is for boats, RVs, and broken-down cars," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "My Mustang is none of those things." Linda leaned back in her chair, clearly enjoying the confrontation. "Then take it to court," she said. "But until then, you'll be fined $100 per day." A few neighbors gasped. Some shook their heads. I walked out of that meeting with my blood boiling. Over the next week, the HOA sent more notices. They even mailed me photographs of my own car in the driveway, as if I didn't already know it was there. The fines stacked up quickly. By the end of the month, they claimed I owed them over $2,000. One afternoon, my neighbor Paul came by. He was in his late 60s, a retired mechanic, and he had always loved seeing me keep the Mustang alive. "They're pushing you hard, huh?" Paul said, shaking his head. "They want me to get rid of her," I muttered, patting the hood of the car. "Over my dead body," Paul growled. "That car's got more soul than their entire HOA board combined." Paul wasn't the only one upset. Several neighbors started whispering that the HOA had been targeting people unfairly. One woman told me they'd fined her for having a bird bath too close to the curb. Another man said his daughter got a warning for leaving sidewalk chalk drawings outside. It wasn't about rules anymore, it was about control. I decided then and there I wouldn't be bullied. The breaking point came when I caught Linda herself standing in front of my driveway with her phone, snapping pictures of the Mustang. I walked out calmly and asked, "Need a better angle? Maybe from the driver's seat?" She glared at me. "You're in violation. Don't think you're special." That night, I dug into the HOA bylaws. Page after page, I searched for the rule they claimed I had broken. And just as I suspected, their wording was vague, but it specifically exempted vehicles that were fully registered and operational. My Mustang qualified. I wasn't just going to fight this, I was going to make an example out of them. The next day, I called an attorney. He specialized in property and HOA disputes. After I laid out everything, he chuckled. "Son, you've got them by the tail. Let's take this to court." As we prepared the case, I learned something shocking. Several members of the HOA board, including Linda, regularly park their own cars in violation of their own rules. Old vans, an RV in a side yard, and even a rusting pickup that hadn't moved in months. The irony was too good to be true. My attorney grinned. This isn't just about your Mustang anymore. This is about their hypocrisy. We'll let the judge see that. By the time the court date was set, word had spread through the neighborhood. Neighbors stopped me in the street, quietly saying, "Good luck, or we're rooting for you." For the first time, I felt like I wasn't standing alone. As I pulled up to the courthouse in that gleaming green Mustang, heads turned. I parked it right out front where the HOA board members couldn't miss it. Linda looked like she had swallowed a lemon. I smiled to myself. This wasn't just about saving a car anymore. This was about justice, and we were just getting started. Walking into that courtroom, I felt both nervous and steady. Nervous because it's never easy going up against a board with lawyers and money. Steady because I knew the truth was on my side. My Mustang wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of standing up to bullies who thought they could twist rules for their own gain. The judge, a stern man with silver hair, took his seat and looked over the paperwork. "All right," he said, glancing at both tables. "This case is regarding a homeowner's vehicle and alleged violations of HOA bylaws. Let's hear the plaintiff first." Linda stood tall at the HOA's table, flanked by their attorney. She spoke with her usual smug confidence. "Your Honor, this homeowner has been in violation for weeks. His vehicle is unsightly, non-standard, and violates the aesthetics of our community. We have issued notices, fines, and warnings, and he has failed to comply." I wanted to laugh. Unsightly? My car gleamed like it had just rolled off the showroom floor. When it was our turn, my attorney stood and laid out the facts. "Your Honor, the HOA is abusing its power. The bylaws clearly state that vehicles must be operational and legally registered. My client's car meets both requirements. Furthermore," he said with a pause, "the HOA board members themselves have been parking vehicles in violation of the very rules they claim to enforce." The courtroom murmured. Linda's face turned red. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Do you have evidence of this?" That was my moment. I pulled out a stack of photos, time-stamped, clear as day. Linda's own driveway showed an oversized RV sitting there for months. Another board member's side yard had a rusted pickup that hadn't moved in ages. One even had a broken van parked halfway on the lawn. My attorney laid them neatly before the judge. "Your Honor, my client is being fined thousands of dollars while board members openly violate the same standards. If their interpretation of non-standard vehicles applies, then their own cars are equally in violation." Linda sputtered. That's not the same thing." The judge's gavel came down lightly. "Quiet, please. I'll be the one to determine what is or is not the same." For the next half hour, both sides argued, but the evidence was clear. My car was legal, clean, and operational. Theirs? Not so much. Finally, the judge leaned forward, his voice firm. "This court finds that the plaintiff's vehicle is in full compliance with HOA bylaws. Furthermore, the selective enforcement demonstrated by the HOA board is unacceptable." He turned his gaze directly at Linda and her attorney. you cannot apply rules against one homeowner while ignoring your own violations. Linda's jaw tightened, but the judge wasn't finished. Therefore, I order that all fines against the plaintiff be voided immediately. Additionally, any non-compliant vehicles owned by HOA board members must be removed or towed within 14 days. If they fail to comply, the HOA will be held in contempt. The gasp that went through the room was priceless. I glanced at Linda. Her smugness was gone, replaced by panic. As we walked out, Paul, my neighbor, slapped me on the back. "You did it, kid. You stood up to them, and you won." But the real cherry on top came 2 weeks later. On a warm Saturday morning, I was washing the Mustang when I heard the unmistakable sound of a tow truck. Curious, I walked to the end of the street. There it was, Linda's oversized RV being hitched up and hauled away. Neighbors lined the sidewalks, watching quietly. One whispered, "Poetic justice." Another chuckled, "Guess rules apply to everyone now." Linda stood on her lawn, red-faced, arms crossed, but powerless. Her own rulebook had turned against her. I didn't say a word. I just gave a small nod and went back to polishing the Mustang. Weeks later, the neighborhood felt lighter. People smiled more, spoke up more, and even started attending HOA meetings to keep the board honest. The fear of retaliation was gone. Looking back, it wasn't just about a car. It was about dignity, fairness, and standing your ground. When someone tries to strip it away, the Mustang still sits proudly in my driveway, shining as a reminder that bullies only win when you stay silent. And to anyone listening who's ever dealt with an unfair HOA, remember, you have more power than you think. Stand up, fight smart, and never let them take what matters to you. Because sometimes, justice isn't just delivered in a courtroom. Sometimes, it rolls in on 4 wheels and leaves the bullies with nothing but silence. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe. We share powerful real-life tales where ordinary people stand up to unfair HOAs and win. Your support helps keep these stories alive, and you won't want to miss the next battle for justice.